Setting up your notebook well can level up your journaling game and even help you live a balanced life. Happy New Year, and thank you for watching this episode of Journaling with Steve on how to set up your journal for life. Today, I'll teach you 3 methods for organizing your thoughts and creating an index for your notebook. But to get there and fully understand the power behind my approach, I'll first talk for a few minutes about the 5 key areas of life. Now, I have examined at length various different teachings on how to lead a good life. Some say there are 3 areas to focus on: work, rest, and play, and everything we do can fall into one of those 3 categories. Others like to follow the wheel of life approach, which, depending on who's teaching and whose wheel you're looking at, can be anywhere from 10 to 15 spokes or areas of life. I find the 3 category approach of work, rest, and play just a little too simplistic, although I do respect it. And the 10 to 15 category approach in the wheel of life is a little too overwhelming for me. I've come to love the 5 key area of life approach, or the 5 circles of life, some people call it. It's simple, it's complete, and it covers every area of life and thought imaginable. Let me give you those 5 key areas of life now. The 5 key areas of life are spiritual, family and relationships, personal, which breaks down further into physical and emotional and mental, financial, business and career or retirement, now just look at that list honestly and think hard. Can you think of anything that can't fit into one of those categories? And the thing of it is, by thinking of life this way, it's simple to spot when we're out of balance. And that's another question for your journal, by the way. What one area am I willing to let slide in order to pay attention to something else? Now, the answer is none. They're all linked. One suffers and they all suffer. Now I want to show you how keeping those 5 key areas of life in front of me at all times helps me organize my thoughts, set goals, constantly improve myself for the sake of my loved ones and society at large, and lead a balanced life. What I'm about to show you makes it so that your thoughts can be easily retrieved and considered later on. It was really important to me to start with this quick overview of the 5 key areas of life, and you'll see why as we move into the second part of this video, the actual journal setup. Now, the methods I teach are not planner or bullet journal focused, but they can be incorporated into either of those types of journaling or more. My methods focus on the actual journaling of journaling, writing, capturing events, memories, thinking about things that are important to me, research, and really digging in, arguing with myself as I seek the answers to life's big questions. And to do all that well with a journal, you have to think about organization. It's important to revisit your ideas, readdress, sometimes come up with different conclusions, and it's fascinating to see how your thinking changes over time. To save time in this video, I won't be doing any more writing. I have set up 3 notebooks demonstrating 3 different but related methods. I've called them 1, the classic index method, 2, the glossary index method, and 3, life's sectional. Let's dive into the first one, the classic index method. This is a Midori MD notebook, by the way. I like them because I can write all over them. This is the cover. As you can see, right on the cover, I've put my 5 key areas of life, and you can see how I've got them linked. I wanted to show that they're interlinked and dependent one upon another. By doing this, it's the first thing that I see every time I journal. And it's also the second thing I see. Watch this. Now, I'm going to set my goals up in each of the 5 key areas of life. I will set 5 spiritual goals for the year, 5 family and relationship goals, 5 personal goals in the physical, 5 personal goals, emotional and mental, 5 goals for business and career, and 5 goals for financial. The other thing you want to do in your notebook, of course, is to put your contact information so that if somebody finds your notebook, they can return it to you. The next thing you want to do is number your pages and create your index. Here is my index. I'm organizing it like this. I've got the page numbers to the left, a title or content, and a key code. And I will show you what I mean by that here momentarily. Now, in order to determine how many pages I need to reserve for the index, I need to number my pages, okay? I just number the odd or even pages depending on which side of the book I start on. These happen to be odd. So this notebook, by the time I'm done numbering, I get to 171. There are 172 pages. And then I like to approximate. Not every single journal entry is going to make it into the index, and others will take up more pages per line. See, like this one, I have pages 1 through 3. Okay, the next thing is to set up your key. So every entry is going to get a key code. Let's say, for instance, that I'm on page 51 of my notebook, sometime in February, and I'm now on page 51, and I'm going to journal about Aunt Susie. Okay, so I'm writing about Aunt Susie, I'm writing about Aunt Susie, I'm writing about Aunt Susie, and I'm done. Now I'm going to put this entry into my index. Okay, so I flip over here, page number 51, title, Aunt Susie, breakfast at Tiffany's, whatever we did that day. Okay, and then the key code, F for family. Understand? So I've calculated out the number of pages. I've estimated that I'll need 4 pages of index, and then I'm reserving 3 pages for a summary. It's very important to start every notebook with a summary, and here are the kinds of things that I want to include in a summary. What's happening in my life right now? What's happening in the world right now? Have there been any natural disasters? Are there wars? Who's the president? Who's the king and queen of England? And what's happening around the world? Because there's always going to be things of a local nature that affect our thinking and things of an international nature that affect us all. And it's important to record those because 10 years from now, 5 years from now, a year from now, we don't remember. And when we pick up our notebooks, it's important to be able to see, oh, that's why I was thinking like that back then, because that had happened. I forgot all about that. There's actually another reason for doing that. It has to do with history. 100 years from now, your notebooks are recovered. Historians can use them to create the history books. One other thing you want to do in your journal setup is to leave yourself space for reflection. So what I do is I try to estimate, if there's 171 pages, I'll divide it by 12 to make sure that I reflect at least once a month. Now I like to reflect weekly, but just so I don't forget. So you see this? Reflect. So I've recorded that word periodically throughout the book 12 times to make sure that I will pause and reflect several times throughout the year. Now, that doesn't mean I can't reflect more often. It doesn't mean that I might want to push this off to a different day. If I get to this page and, I'm writing about something, I don't have time to reflect, I'll push it off. But to have that little trigger reminder to reflect on what I've written, this is a reminder to read back through what I've written recently and consider. Okay, so the constant reminder of the 5 key areas of life. I've got my goals in front of me in the inside cover. I've set up the key code for my index. And I hope this is clear why you would want to do this. A year later or 10 years later, when you're reading through all your notebooks, now you can gather together those thoughts in simple categories. If I want to read all about spiritual things, I can look through my index. Another thing you can do is just as the month is going or the year is going, look at your key code. If you see that all your entries are spiritual, for instance, well, you're out of balance. It's time to journal about other things. Now let me show you the back. Now, this will vary. You can do this on the front. I always like to do a words to live by, either on the front or the back or somewhere near the front or the back. Just things to be a guide So I'll read this periodically. These are the things that I want to have guide me this time. Make your journal, set the tone, design your life, and help you improve for the sake of your loved ones and society at large. Don't let it be some helpless bystander recording only events and wondering why these things keep happening to you. Wisdom uninvested in labor is worthless. So, they're quotes that either I've come up with or I've gathered from others to help guide me as I'm journaling. Because, if I don't, I'll have a tendency to wander. So these things help me reset. Okay, I hope this is useful. That's the classic index method. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the glossary index method. Once again, this time I put the words to live by on the front cover. Blot before turning the page. I like to be funny sometimes. Same thing, same setup here. I've got my goals in each one of the 5 key areas of life, 5 goals each. I've put my interlinked display once more. And now the glossary style index. See this? The entire page is just for spiritual. The entire page is just for family and relationships. The entire page is just for personal, physical, emotional. All right? And then once again, every few pages I've got that reflect, right? Reflect, reflect. There it was, reflect. Going to go to the back. Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention the big lessons. Okay, well, here it is. In your notebook, I found this to be really helpful. As the years progress, as the days progress, you're bound to learn a lesson. And if we don't revisit those lessons and remember them, oftentimes the best lessons are learned from making a mistake, right? Well, if we don't keep the lesson nearby, we're apt to repeat that mistake. So I like to write big lessons in the back of my notebook. And then as I pull out my notebooks, the first thing I do often is look through my big lessons, especially right before I set up a new notebook. So I hope that's helpful to you. And I got my words to live by on the back page of this one again. Be unusually kind and compassionate. Under promise, over deliver. All right. With me so far? Now, we're going to wrap this up with what I call life's sectional. For this one, I've got a Leuchtturm 1917 softcover A5. Same thing. I've got my 5 key areas of life, goal, motif. I've got my little interlinked display of the spiritual, family, relationships, personal, financial, business, my contact information. And then I put my words to live by in this one in the front pages. Joy is waiting for me on the other side of suffering. That's a good one. Okay, now, sectional. You'll notice that I've got tabs here. This one is quite a bit different than the others. So here's what I've done. First of all, I've already reserved, see this? Pages 1 through 3, that's my summary. We've talked about that before. Then, I've divided it up. I've divided the rest of the book. This is 123 pages long. So I divided it up and came up with these pages for each subject. All right? So pages 4 to 27 are dedicated to spiritual. Pages 28 to 51, family and relationships. 52 to 75, personal, and so on. Then I have tabbed the pages. See this? When I get to here, I like to do a little refresher on my goals and habits for this category. Flip over to page 28, and I am on to family and relationships and goals and habits. And by the way, I've got little reflect reminders in here too. Next tab, personal, physical and emotional, goals and habits. Next tab, business and career, goals and habits. And then what happens is, as you go throughout the year and you're recording your entries in the index, you can see, gee, I'm out of whack. I'm spending all my time looking at money and I'm not paying attention to these other categories. Notice how I always include a couple of pages for fun. Of course, the downside to this system, this particular system, is, gee, What if I have a couple of journal entries that just take up a lot more pages and I fill up the section before I fill up the others? Well, so you can either borrow pages from other sections or, move these tabs. So I've got adhesive tabs, so I'll just move it, or start another journal and do it again. So get to the back. I've got my big lessons here and like that. I hope you found this helpful. Today we talked about the 5 key areas of life: spiritual, family and relationships; personal, which breaks down into physical and emotional and mental; financial, and business and career or retirement; and how you can organize your notebook around those 5 key areas of life. Literally create your index, and by paying attention to your index, see where you're out of balance at any given time. This helps you retrieve the information later. In a later video, I'll show you how to create a master index, because what I've done is all my notebooks, all the indexes are gathered into one. That's when you can start digitizing also, and it makes it easier for retrieval. Gee, when did I talk about Aunt Susie and Breakfast at Tiffany's? Oh, that was in February 23rd, 2025. So you can get really creative with that. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, share it with people. And I hope this one has helped you. I hope one of these 3 types of indexing has really resonated with you. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. I'd love to help you. In my next video, we're going to talk about what to write in your notebook. We'll start with how to focus, because that's the question I get asked most often. Can journaling help me focus? You're darn right it can. I'm going to teach you how. Stay tuned.